Welcome back to the second plenary session. I'm admitting all. I thought that I set up the option to admit automatically. Sorry for this, but we are waiting that all the others come back from the other parallel sessions, and then we start. And we start with the first presentation for ETIP SNET Working Group 5 for showing us the reply to a questionnaire that has been asked to all the projects that presented today during the parallel sessions. Let's wait some minutes. We have already 26 participants. I see, at least from the session 3 where I was, people are coming back. So let's collect all the people together. You can grab a quick coffee if you want. Then we start. In the meantime, Mabobe, Venizelos, please share the screen with your presentation so we are ready where we have all the participants around the table, please. Thanks.
Okay, I will do it.
Yeah, thanks.
Do you see it?
Yes, so we see it.
Okay.
We see now in presentation mode, we see.
Yeah. I will do it.
Yeah. I'm sorry if you will see pop up some people in the lobby, but I'm working like hopefully real time to admit all of them. I see we are, yeah, I see that is appearing also to all of you. So I have to see the setup. I see already 42 people back, 43. So we were 90. Hopefully we can be 90 again, but
now, Lara, you see my screen?
Yes, we see also one window in front.
Yeah. But you see the presentation behind it, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
So let's. It's really a question of some seconds that I see really everyone coming back. So I believe that all the sessions are concluded. Yeah, we are 56. So. Okay, hoping that the majority of you had 2 minutes to grab a coffee. Venizelos, you can already start presenting as I told you, and I will admit the people in the lobby, but you can already a bit present and Mabobe will continue.
Yeah, of course. We are together now with Mahbouba, co-chairing Working Group 5. And yes, as already Mara-Laura has indicated, we will give some evaluation results from the projects presented today. Of course, we will say our approach to it. Before we go to that, just a few words about Working Group 5 and the innovation implementation in the business environment that we are trying to help and assist through the Working Group 5. Because as you know, we are a group that is looking at the activities of ETIP SNET from a helicopter's view. In other words, trying to see throughout the activities of the working groups and all the objectives of ETIP SNET, how we can approach wider issues, supporting issues, in relation to the projects, results of projects, how we evaluate these results and how we relate them to the wider development works of the interconnected system. So we do mobilize experts in support of research and innovation work, and we do try through Working Group 5 to try and build a process through which we can, let's say, automate to a highest degree possible evaluation of results, but also relate them to standards, relate them to testing facilities, and how that can be assisted and fulfilled within the development work running throughout Europe. And we have developed also through our efforts and collaborative effort and working with other projects and with the Commission, this ERI platform that we will have to talk a lot more and do join in the ENLIT conference that is coming up. And we are going to talk a lot more in the ENLIT conference. You will have the chance to see it and discuss with us the capabilities and how we can utilize it. You can, of course, visit it through the web address shown here. And you can direct questions to us, whatever you feel like that is bothering you, in order to help the process. We try through the work of Working Group 5 to generate homogeneity in the analysis of projects, work done and lessons learned, because we would like to generate a process that has long-term benefits for the whole research and innovation community. Build a universal approach, and this is what we are trying, and we are working on that in order to deliver it within ERI. And this universal approach is based on an agreed taxonomy of technologies that constitute the evolution of functionalities or the evolution of the system. Functionalities is a term that can change, as already being discussed internally within ETIP SNET. But what is important is that the system and the technologies supporting it and developing it and generating progress are related and maturing to develop the system that we expect by 2050. So build the methodology to judge system needs in the energy transition, and through that evaluate correctly where we are and where we want to go. So this work, we are trying to do it through Working Group 5. Working Team 1 is trying to relate what facilities are out there to help us in the research and innovation work that we are doing in Europe. And we are doing successful steps forward, because currently we are working with JRC, working with DERLAB, the Association of Distribution Energy Resources in Europe, and all the labs that are related to that are members to DERLAB, and how we can link the work of the ERI Grid project that is offering services of all these labs to research and innovation people that don't have the facilities to conduct their research work, and how this can be facilitated in order to help from one end to the other end of Europe the research and innovation without leaving anyone behind, as the Green Deal is talking about. So the ERI platform is trying to host a common repository area through which we can facilitate this process. And this is happening within Working Team 1. Working Team 2 is linking all the regulatory work, all the standardization process that is happening in Europe in order to help this evolution, in order to be as interoperable and as standardized as possible within Europe. We are linking all these standards to the 33 technologies that are forming the core of this system of Europe, and how this is moving forward to the 2050. And we have managed to do that, and we are going to link all these standards, where we are, what gaps are there, where are the needs, and how we can develop this into the future. We are in discussions with Senelec in order to do that in a coordinated way and a collaborative way, and we are doing good progress in that direction. So the Working Team 3 is working on the methodology. We have put down a process. We have put down a process through which we work from the vision that is identified with ETIP SNET, how this is transformed into objectives that are linked to the technologies, how projects take up these technologies and evolve them and advance their TRL forward, and how these TRLs affect the maturity of technologies, the maturity of the system, and how this generates new gaps, new requirements, new needs, and how that is transformed into new targets, objectives. And this work, this process is a continuous process. That's why ETIP SNET is working on new implementation plans, new 10-year plans, and eventually every 10, 15 years, a new vision in order to link all this going into the future. This is the work that we are doing within Working Team 3. And so within the process of this regional workshop, we are trying to evaluate the projects through their innovation perspective and how they are maturing in that direction. So Mahbouba, can you take the floor, please, and tell us a bit more about this?
Yes, sure. Thank you very much, Anizelos, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our work. Actually, we generated self-assessment tools to evaluate the project outcome and to distinguish the barrier and gap that they have in their own way for the commercialization. So this self-assessment tools is a questionnaire, as Maria Laura explained, that we send to the project owners. And this questionnaire, this is in line with the Innovation Radar questionnaire from the European Commission, but with the very much focus on the commercialization and market uptake. And since the questionnaire is included just multiple choice question, there is less possibility that people have somehow objective interpretation, because everything is made by just answering the multiple question. So next slide, please. Can I go myself to the next slide? Okay, thank you. So this questionnaire made of 6 blocks. And this 6 block actually assess the technological readiness, assess the understanding and knowing the value proposition and how people or project owner can connect the output of their project to the market demand. The next block is understanding the market competition and competitor, and also customer profile, that who are actually the user of their service or product. One block or one part we have to assess the social and industrial impact and readiness, and also for the plan for the IP protection for the idea and model, business model. The next block actually is for securing investment and preparing document and preparing the stuff like a financial model for the investor that give them assurance that the capital is also safe. And the last but not least is the combination of the team that's included in the project, and how they complementary is the team, and how they are actually proceeding with the project. So during assessing for this 6 block, we come to the visualization of the different projects that I show you a couple of projects we had in this workshop. Yeah, thank you. That you are seeing here, the project for the React and VPP. As you're seeing for these 2 projects, this is more or less homogeneous in all these 6 blocks. And for some of them, for example, it is usually most of the project like this, they have problem to finding the investor. Some of them we can actually target what is the main problem, why they cannot find the investor, and some of them actually it is more so to say understanding how project outcome can link to the market demand and bridge the gap. For these two projects, as you are seeing here, they have a low rate in the F sector, that is financial planning and finding the investor, and also for the second one, for VPP, they have also some hindrances to define value proposition. It means linking the service or outcome of the project or product that they generate to market demand and integrating to market. Next slide, please. Here there is more irregular, as you see. You can see that difference between the gap between different block getting more, especially for the most, as I'm not mistaken, project. Yeah, and as you see, this is again, as usual, people have a problem, or project owner have problem to define the appropriate value proposition for the project. Next slide, please. And we have also here some analysis and assessment for the Interpair and also ELAND project that we show according based on the answer for the questionnaire. They have also the problem, so to say, in the block F and block B, but more or less. All project, they have a good combination in the complementary team, but they have, and also they show they have a so to say very good rate in the technological readiness. It means currently actually the hindrances that people face is not in the technological readiness. Shall we go to the next slide, please? And with an overview, you can see with the color, this traffic light color, how actually project in which part there is more barrier. The red color, it's when the score is below 30%. Yellow color is between 30 and 70%, and green color is above 70%. As you see, this is usual actually from the project that we already assessed that management team is actually good and complementary and they can work together. And technological readiness is also in the value acceptable ranges. But most hindrances that we see defining the value proposition, it means integrating and connecting the project outcome with the market demand. Mostly, actually, many projects have also problem to define the or distinguish the different customer profile and who is the customer and who is the competitor. And if you don't know to this element, it is very difficult to generate the financial model because you have not much information about your revenue stream and your cost structure. And if you cannot generate the real financial plan, is difficult to convince the investor. Therefore, consequently, that block E, that is for the investor, actually also have some difficulties. So that was the assessment for all the project that we have done. If you are actually happy to have your feedback and you have discussion with you, if you have somehow not accept or agree with our assessment, that we go deeper and to see, so to say, how the questionnaire actually act. And that was all part. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mabobe. Thank you, Venizelos. I think if you are speaking, Venizelos, you are muted. I don't know if you want to conclude. Otherwise, I have a question or maybe it's a suggestion. This questionnaire shows us, let's say, the assessment of the projects according to the results of the project itself, but doesn't show where they were before the project. I think that could be interesting to include, maybe if it's possible in this questionnaire, some session that tell us where the project, picture, let's say, the situation before the project activities and where, let's say, where the project are according to following the activities that they are carrying out. In this way, we can see also really if the funds are used in the right way to improve, or if there is some still angle that is open or is not well tackled, and maybe this can allow us to understand that there is a need, that there is a gap somewhere, and there is a need for more funds in some areas of in the table that you show us. Maybe Venezuela is a good person to answer the question. I just give some short answer for this gap analysis, that what is actually have done now and what was the need before, and if the gap actually is covered. We have a group of, we have a working team 3 that is responsible for this gap analysis, and maybe Venezuela wants to more explain about that.
Yeah, Mara Laura, the question you have raised is very interesting, but and also not only interesting, but also a very important question on how we evaluate the progress made through projects and where we are with the development of technologies and the system as a whole. This work is done through the Working Team 3, and we are producing a tool through which we will feed in the results of projects and identify maturities and give feedback as to where are the needs and gaps. And of course, we can do through that also and compare through that past and at project level, we can do it also from where it started and where it ended. And so, but of course, for implementation planetary plans, what is important is the current status, where we are with technologies, where are the needs and where are the gaps, and how can we fill in this with research and innovation work that is pushing for further developments. Within Working Team 4, and what Mahbouba has presented is within projects, the degree that they are approaching their research and innovation work with innovative thinking and approach, and always aiming to see how useful they will be for the next phase, whether that is going to be for use by others or end up in the market or wherever. So that's the essence of the work done within Working Team 4, and is more a guide that we want to give back to consortia in a way that they should start their process to be to questioning their targets, objectives of projects, to what degree they have identified innovation approaches that will lead them to improved results and more attractive results for the market, for the end user, for the future use of their results, and how can we help this through the various dimensions that has been indicated by Mahbouba before.
Yeah, I believe that we could create, it would be interesting to create really a storyline, and so integrate the two work that you just showed from the working teams, so working group 5 of ETIP SNET, and this can give you a storyline from where we were, where we are, what we need. I think we can summarize like that this session. So thank you very much, Venizelos and Mahbouba. We will continue to work on this and following closely the activities of Working Group 5 and presenting the results during the next workshops as well. Now let's go to the conclusion of the parallel sessions. I would ask to start with a parallel session 1. Co-moderator, if you have slides to show, otherwise just show your face and you give us in bullet point the conclusion that you gather from your session. We have more or less 5 minutes each, and I will be your bad cop in timekeeper. Please, Franco, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Maria Laura. Yes, I will. Yeah, I can just read and without sharing. So the main conclusion. So our session was on decarbonization of Iceland, and we have identified several challenges during the presentation and the following discussion. For example, one challenge is a different technology that are from different vendors and need to be integrated in one system. That is one challenge. Also, there is a regulatory aspect that can be a barrier and that requires simplification of regulatory system, especially considering that very often we are speaking about a reality that are islands that are a bit disconnected from the decision, let's say, center, okay, that from the center where the decision makers are located. That is another challenge for those reality. And then, of course, there is a challenge related to the modeling of the system to make the model robust and secure to run the system. In there was interesting to hear that the construction of a virtual power plant is made and can be made through digital twins and artificial intelligence, which is key to have a mathematical and 3D representation of the system, but it's also key to extract knowledge, and so to give the artificial intelligence to extrapolate and take a decision automatically. That's okay. So that is really important. Then in this system, of course, has to be working the forecasting, which is challenging. So the load and the rest and the renewable production can be challenging. Then another aspect that has been stressed out in several of the presentation is the involvement of the local community. So the decision has to be taken together with the local administration and the local citizen. And then, of course, they have the local people living in this island are more concerned about water, transportation, their own business, which is often related to tourism and agriculture, rather than concept like energy, electricity. So they want the system to work for them. So it's very good to have a second thought on those projects and to speak really together with them, to hear from them. And then also make sure that the investment are coming usually from European level or national level, that make sure that this investment really work together with the local business model. And then, of course, it's not only about electrical, there is also the heating, the cooling system that need to be integrated. And then it was interesting to hear that, for example, North and the South Island, North of Europe, I mean, and the South Europe islands are different reality. Okay, that's, for example, in the North, usually more smaller than the South, low level of low number of inhabitants. But also interesting to hear that is also logic that the North are more interested in the heating support, while in the South the electrification of the cooling is already a reality. And then also we hear about the synergy with the storage in the island grid system. And then we hear, of course, that the storage is still expensive for islands. I mean, even if it compared with the fact that very often those islands are running on a diesel, for example, still can be challenging to make convenient storage, especially if there are regulatory barriers which, let's say, limit the usage of those storage for ancillary service, for example, that can be could make those storage much more convenient.
To wrap up.
Yes. Okay. So basically, we have also some uncertainty related to the energy community, which are, let's say, nationwide, Europe-wide can be different along the different island reality. And also to conclude about the storage, the hydrogen is an interesting option for Iceland, even if there is still a cost issue, but there are a lot of, let's say, founding and innovation going on. And between battery technology, of course, the lithium-ion will be predominant, but the flow battery could play an important role in the future. So that is the main point that has been discussed and presented. You're welcome.
Thank you, and also you said on time, so many thanks. Now
welcome.
Let's go to the session 2. Moderator and co-moderator, I see Santiago Gallego, so please, the floor is yours for giving us in 5 minutes the highlights of your session, please.
Thank you, Maria Laura. Can you see my screen? Because I'm sharing the conclusion.
Yes.
Oh, good. So we had a very nice debate with 5 excellent speakers. We found the time very short in terms that we didn't have time to discuss the topics more than we wanted, but unfortunately we have to come back to general session. Nevertheless, we brought with us some interesting conclusions that you can see here on the screen. So conclusion, the first one is that the investments must be located in the right places to allow the integration of intermittent renewable energy sources. And we can extract from the projects and the pilots very useful conclusions that are, of course, because these projects are focused on a very local level or regional level, but they can bring these good conclusions to a pan-European scenario. This is very important. And also it is crucial also to have a roadmap and identify solutions to the barriers that we have in this roadmap and that can help us to reach the goals that we have in mind. So still under construction, this roadmap and the solution to the barriers. This was mainly in the presentation of John Lowry. Secondly, we have also a conclusion from the presentation of Katerina Balalaki, and users' engagement is crucial to reap the benefits of the increasing integration of renewables. In this sense, and on a local level, energy communities have, of course, a key role in grasping all the attention of users and empowering them, the citizens, through innovative business models that, in another way, that they cannot just have this access to the grids and the knowledge that allow them to participate in this energy transition. So energy communities are, of course, a player that has to be followed and incentivized. In conclusion, 3, mainly from the presentation from Gabriel Comodi, we have different profiles from users, and we want to use them to have a more efficient exploitation of the system, using, for example, in the case of houses and users let's say from EV charging and thermal storage that they can use in the houses. They can be used efficiently and to alleviate in some cases the excess of energy from renewables and provide flexibility to the network. Still not solved entirely because it's very difficult to change the profiles of the users, but at least we have the idea of what we want and how to do it in a very efficient way. From George Kariniotakis, that was explaining us a very interesting project on forecasting we extracted the conclusion that improved forecasting for system operators is achieved not only by having the right tools, those who are commercial and those who are nowadays being managed by system operators, but also by exchanging data and improving those models in order to extract the most precise and valuable information and detect which are the data that can be useful for having this facility that we want. And last but not least, we have a very nice conclusion for Alexander Widerman, saying that we urgently need to invest in large-scale storage to tackle this intermittent renewable penetration that we have in the next years with liquid, mechanical, thermal, and hydrogen, and probably all of them to cope with the future generation mix of the next years. Still, digitization, saving in resources, and more reliable and affordable energy for industry can also contribute to provide this necessary flexibility that we want for our systems. And that's all from my side.
Yes, thanks. Perfect on time. Thank you, Santiago. And let's go to session 3, conclusion. So Elena or Rainer, please, the floor is yours. And your 5 minutes.
I'm going to share the slides now. If you can see my presentation, yes, Maria Laura. Yes. So we've had a very interesting session, very interesting presentations during this session for projects presenting on, I would say, fairly different types of projects, all focusing on interoperability, monitoring, control, and in general, how to get the best out of digitalizing the data in these research and innovation projects. The common challenges that were identified, I would say now in the projects that were presented are slowly getting away from typical issues in the past, which were associated with access to all of these flexibility sources that are to be monitored and controlled, and still exist, and this is work to be done for the future, in achieving true interoperability of all of these devices and better communication. And when I say communication, it's mostly associated with the challenge of how do we talk about digital twins now, but in real time, the dynamic modeling in question. Another common theme of the projects presented was that they truly showcased the different digital technologies being in place. So a number of projects are mitigating the fact that not all across Europe we have smart meters and smart sensoring devices in place, but the software tools, advanced platforms that are being developed, and let's say data lakes, new big data analytic services, data crunching, as well as some, I would say, new concepts such as grid forming were presented as part of these projects. Obviously, new services through the projects presented are being developed, although it is my impression that a number of projects still and a lot of research presented focuses on the needs of the TSOs and DSOs, and in terms of digitalization, monitoring and control for the, let's say, next workshops, we have identified the need to expand that a little bit more beyond TSOs and DSOs to cross-sector coupling, and I think this ties away well with the previous conclusions of the other panel session. Data collection and quality remains, I think, an eternal topic to be discussed, but how to do that, how to mitigate that in an innovative way is a question going forward, and it does depend heavily on the level of automation of the grid. So some opinions shared were that it would be mitigated with use of machine learning on automation of the grids, but there is a gap to be filled in. And finally, as I mentioned, while a lot of the new services presented were oriented towards DSOs, to some extent the aggregators as well, the focus in the future should go in addressing the needs of final consumers. What do they want? And of course, it's heavily dependent on the regulation and let's say the speed of legislation across different European regions. Rainer, would you like to add anything to what I've just said?
Well, thank you very much. No, that was a great session also from my point of view. Thanks to all projects and participants. Just one thing which I noticed, when we asked initially our questionnaire about the main research topics of the audience, of digitalization research topics, we have 5 defined in our implementation plan. The word cybersecurity was the one which was mentioned minimally. It was just interesting also maybe for those who are listening now. It seems like cybersecurity, at least in our session, was not really represented enough. It was not the core focus, but just yeah, it was a nuance which I thought was interesting. Maybe we need to do more there. And last issue which I had is, do we all understand? Also, when I was hearing what the very interesting first session was talking about on islands, do we know what the difference is between digitization and digitalization? One is more the process, I think, of making things digital, more from analog to digital, and the other one is business, you know, and to organize things. So I'm not sure if sometimes when we talk about digitalization, we understand the same thing, and that's something at least I wish to learn a little bit more, and we may continue also on that topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now let's go to the last sessions. So Ludwig, Esther, you have been mentioned by all the sessions. So give us your 5 minutes recap and your feedback from all what you heard now. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Elena said we need to discuss what people want. We also discussed a bit what people don't want. We looked at this picture mainly where we said, okay, we have a smart meter. The smart meter collects high resolution data and somehow combines it into aggregated or 15-minute data or whatsoever, gives it to an energy service provider, which is fine. This is what people like, and they get excellent power and a stable grid. But what happens if the energy provider or grid operator uses the data and gives it to others? Are people also okay with that? So this was the question, and then we related a bit to this question: would you rather data or blood? In the documents, you will then see what the result was of our poll. It was surprising. We did that with some 4 experts from 4 projects, 3 EU-level projects and 1 Eranet Smart Energy project. And we asked 3 questions. These were the results, more or less. One question was like, would people be willing to pay with data for receiving excellent services? And everybody said, yeah, okay, if you tell them up front, that's fine, be trustworthy, and it's okay. There was a clear distinction, and that was very valuable. What is private data? And Kalle said that. He said, okay, private data is either personal data, so name, location, and so on. This is typically protected by GDPR, and it's fine. But there's also other private data, which we call then commercial sensitive data. And the question is that protected? For example, when I take this example, we have high resolution meter data that allows us to create profiles of people. This is commercially sensitive somehow, but is it protected by GDPR? So this is a question, but at the end, it's a question of trust. Right, Esther?
Yes. And what also happens if people don't know and they cannot oversee what's going to happen with the data, they go into extremes. They say, "I don't want that." That was seen in the projects, and also the people have difficulties in to understand the concept of data ownership. What does it actually mean, data ownership? So what came up in the group was that we have to educate the people for what kind of data are we talking about, where is the data located, and for which purpose is the company using your data.
Then we had one very practical question. When we do a project, we have sort of a contract as to privacy with the participants, but we do also collect non-participant data. So how do we deal with that? That's just to remember. Then we asked, what data do we need at all? Do we need high resolution data, and for what purpose? And then anonymous saying was, for the grid operation aggregated data is enough. It costs even more if we take the data from every single household. But at the end of the day, we need some more research. What data do we really need to manage the grid, to manage the energy system, etc., etc.? Which resolution? What do we need exactly for forecasting? So there's a lot to investigate, and this is also, of course, related to whether it's then private or semi-private or whatever type of data that people would like to give away or not give away.
Yes, and if it comes to the high resolution, what Ludwig says, it doesn't really matter so much if you look at the samples, if it's in milliseconds or 50 minutes data. Private data is private data. Another thing is, if it comes to availability of the data, that's important, because if it's real-time data, you can do different things with it. Then also manipulation is one of the issues you can see.
But what was important to understand is that this is not a unidirectional, it's a bidirectional data flow. It does not only go to whatever type of user of the data, the user can also send you data and get in control. And this type of data should be also considered. Last not least, we talked about social political sciences and what we know already. What do we know, Esther?
I need to ask you to wrap up, but you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Culture counts. It's a matter of trust in the governmental system. Public institutions are more trusted than commercial private institutions.
Michele had said it in the beginning already, the local, the better. Maybe energy communities are a solution.
Yes, and we can keep the customer in control with regulatory framework, technical tools, and economic incentives.
And last not least, we asked, can we force people into vaccination? Yes or no, we don't know. Shall we force people into donating data for the excellence of the energy system? And the vote was clearly 50-50. And there's a lot left to be researched. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all of you. We have 2 minutes. I have 2 minutes for conclude this interesting workshop. So first, my thanks to moderator, co-moderator, and panelists, and all the participants, to all of you for your time. Some key message has been really came out from our sessions. First, for sure, is customers. This is really a very horizontal problem. Citizens need to know, if you want to have data from citizens needs to know where this data goes. So we need to push more on data exchange, chasing the market, so not only focusing on industry side, but also passing to the citizen and customer side. And this is really a common point in all our sessions. Other session is in, for example, investments. Some other keywords is investments. So the investments need to work with local business model. And we need the investment on more sectors, like, for example, some identified there was large-scale storage to cope with future generation, but other 2 keywords are flexibility, interoperability, and communication. So it brings us also to the digitalization world. First, we need to have clear what is the difference between digitization and digitalization, as Rainer mentioned, so we can really dig on it as well. But for sure, we need to be to continue to challenge and continue to see how to couple with monitoring and control on assessing device, and also achieving, again, interoperability and communication. Need of real-time digital twins. working on data collection and quality. And all this brings us to also to next steps, that is sector coupling, on which ETIP SNET is working hard, and with some working group, a specific working group one, but with contribution from all the working groups as integration of system. Said that, I think this is a conclusion of our workshop. You will find all the presentation and the recording online as soon as possible. I really thank you for your time today. Now, I wish you a really good lunch, and hoping that the next time we will be able to see each other physically. Thank you very much from ETIP SNET, and have a good time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Maria Laura.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
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 Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.